Seems to wait anyway.
Right.
Okay, there's just as many people in the audience as there are on the table.
That's good now.
Oh, it looks quite packed in here though.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Small room, we get nice and...
Bit of an optical illusion.
Well, politics is an optical illusion, so who knows about that one, yeah.
What you lost, Mark? That's what we got.
You'll be used to it after this one.
Fine, mate.
Are you going live, Chris, yeah?
Yep.
When are you on?
No.
Okay, good evening, ladies.
For the last minute.
Good countdown.
A man, a few words. Be a bit professional.
No, we don't need countdowns for this. You've got to wait. You've got to allow for people to join.
Cut the swearing out.
Do you need people to get on board?
No, you're right. Okay. There's 3 people watching at the minute.
3? All right.
Because I haven't advertised.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for turning up to the Thetford Council Watch. It's the 11th one that we've had, and we're lacking a little bit of light. So you'll see I have my torch. Or just I don't want to blind anybody. To all the volunteers sitting around the table, thank you very much for turning up. Especially Dennis, because last time we got threatened by the police. Last time Not the first time. Yeah. Apologies for absence. We got the usual one from Sean, and I believe Carl can't make it, yeah, but everybody's busy time of the year. Minutes from the previous meetings can be checked on LSB Film Productions on
Facebook.
people on Facebook. We've got it on there for anybody who wants to look. Right, the first thing we've got down is I've just got general points. I'll go through them and then we can all have a gab and questions. Please, questions from the audience are great. We'll just do a to and fro and try and keep it civil, but please get involved with the meeting. So I've got down here the first question is the Town Council acoustics and the public questions. I'll just go through the first few points. Again, the acoustics were poor in the chamber and the council still does not seem to care about that. They put up more barriers and pushed further back. They were pushed further back and there was no actual position for any public speakers to stand in. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
So basically what I had to do is, I can't remember who had the first question.
Ned.
Ned, yeah. Well, I put Ned on the right in a position, but the council didn't seem to be giving any direction to the speakers on where to go, did they?
No, not at all. No, they don't want to engage at all. Well, actually, I'll bring it up in a minute. There's a complaint going on.
And no microphone for them, mate.
And no microphone for them, yeah, which I noticed. I've got down as well, I'll go through the general points and then open it up. We can still not hear or understand the councillors.
Yeah.
Now, you know, we've got one councillor who's Portuguese and she talks very fast and it's very, very hard to understand her. But the normal English councillors in there, you know, I just can't hear what they're saying half the time.
They won't even face you when they're speaking either.
You know, I've got down here, they mumble in an unconfident manner and they do not address the public. So I just want to see if there's any observations on that from anybody.
Do they stand up when they're talking?
No, you don't.
They're supposed to, that's in the rules. They're supposed
Is
to
it?
stand, when there's public in the building, you're supposed to stand as a councillor.
I see.
Mhm.
Right. Okay.
It's a matter of interest.
No,
No, I remember.
You remember that? Yeah.
that was something I was going to bring up.
Oh, sorry.
With that engrossed on our questions, that we're not actually telling the council to stand up.
Yeah.
Now, when you stand up, you're automatically going to engage with the public
Yeah.
and speak loud, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think it's very easy for them to hide when they're sitting down.
Yeah. And then on that subject, there is a member of the public that's actually put a complaint in now to the council about the way they're turning their backs on us when we're speaking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty apparent they're not really bothered about what we've got to
No
say.
eye contact once a high.
Yeah, especially for any of the public that are watching at the minute, when the public do ask the questions at the council meeting, there's no engagement, there's no personal engagement between the councillors and the member of the public that's asking the question. You do see some of them actually turning their back doing internal chit chat and treating the public with disdain.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, like I said, there's an official complaint gone in about that now, from someone quite prominent in the town. So,
Oh, it is horrible. We had Michael there from the public.
Plus, I mean, if they stand up, you know who you're talking to,
Yeah.
and who you're listening to.
Yeah.
I mean, all you're hearing is a load of mumble jumble.
Mumble and jumble.
Well, I'm looking, I'm thinking, who the hell's talking?
Yeah.
I know it weren't me.
yeah.
That was about it though.
No, I have said this in other meetings, and I'll say it again because Dennis is here now, because I served as a councillor with Dennis. Now, I know when me and Dennis engaged with the public, we always stood up and spoke directly to the public in a personal manner. Yeah. Even if we disagreed with what they were saying, we still engaged with them and tried to get across to them that we would take their question on, investigate it. But none of that's happening.
Even I stood up when I was a councillor and I was being reprimanded by Glenn Williams. I still stood up and spoke to him.
Yeah, so you know what it's like. No, but is there any other questions on that from the public?
Not so much about that, Mark, but did you, the lady next to the mayor, I don't know the lady's name, she was sitting to the right of the mayor.
Oh, she's
We're
there.
going to go into that later.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You
That'll
saw
come
the,
up.
you
The
saw
That will
the,
come up in a minute.
Sorry?
They're secretary, isn't she?
No, we'll go into that in a minute. I've got that.
yeah,
And just hold your powder dry on that.
yeah, good. I mean, yeah, address that.
I'd just like to say something about the shouting out and some of the public perception in relation to some of the comments that people have said to me on the Thetford forum. Now, what people are going to appreciate is that, especially us and other members of the public, some of you are in here tonight, when we're not getting any answers and when we're not being treated with respect by the duly elected councillors, people are going to get frustrated. When they get frustrated, they start shouting out. They become quite flippant. Now, all right, you've got to, I know I'm guilty of it. Zach, you're guilty of it, especially. Bob does it, but not as loud as me and you, I would say. But the thing is, it's natural when nobody's communicating with you to try and get your point across. And a lot of the exuberance that we're coming out with is not made in a negative manner, it's in a frustrating manner.
Frustration.
Yeah.
Now, because I do know that somebody's told me that there's been quite a few comments about us on the Thetford forum. My retort to that was that the Thetford forum is a Labour beast anyway, and they don't like us.
Yeah,
Totally.
Well, I mean, my experience of that,
It's Danny's friends.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, my
The one with
experience,
T, the capital T
You
and
got any
capital
friends?
F. Huh?
You ain't got any friends.
my experience of that, over the last few months, has been any time that you've rebutted anything that's been questioned about us, and you've rebutted it in a very diplomatic way and a very intelligent way, the posts are immediately removed by whoever runs the Thetford forum. But it's after I was sent a couple of screenshots of look what they're saying about you, and I can't even get on it now. They've actually
yes,
stopped
yes.
me from getting on it.
Yes, yes.
So
So it's just a one-sided conversation, really,
Yeah.
isn't it?
yeah.
Do the council have a level of service to the public, by which I mean, if you ask a question, how many days or months or years do they have to reply? Because they don't reply to anything. Is there a set time when they have to reply, or can they just ignore it like they are ignoring it?
Well, that takes us nicely into I've got the 15 minutes of questions to the
Oh, there we go.
council, how it went. Now I've got the first member of this public to speak, who donated paintings, was very angry, and he was very angry about the fact that he has written quite a few times to the council. I brought it up before. They've never gone back to him, and he's so incensed about the lack of communication and what the council's pushing. Especially with the kids and the climate crisis, he's asked for all his paintings back, and he was the first man to get up, and he rebuked the council.
Right.
So, I mean, Dennis, do you want to speak on that?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out, when I was on the council, we did get a certain amount of time to answer the questions, but I
Yeah.
don't know if it's in the rule book or not. I can't remember it being in the standing orders or anything about the
It'd
amount
be
of time.
interesting to find out,
But
because
it's
they've not
worth looking.
answered any question, have they?
Well, no, that's the trouble. They aren't they're not just not answering a question within a time period. They're not
They're not
answering
answering any,
questions.
no.
Don't like the challenge.
No.
The different, sorry, I'll just
Yeah,
show
go
you
on,
forward.
go on, yeah.
The difference that I'm seeing from when me and Dennis were there, it was a much more mixed council.
Yeah.
It was a more mixed bag.
Mm-hmm.
And just out of respect, we get back to the public.
Yeah.
I think what's happening now is because it's a one party, it is a one party council.
Yeah.
I don't think that they've got any respect whatsoever, and I think they can just try to hold back through any respect to the public. That's what I think.
Yeah. Yeah, go on.
No, go.
No, all I was going to say was, you know, the only way you can actually force a response in a certain time is actually put it in writing and
Yeah.
put it in a notice. If you put it in notice, then it becomes a proper document.
You write your question, and you say at the bottom, "I would like a reply
Yeah.
within
7 days.
Right.
a certain
Yeah.
7
7 to
Absolutely.
14 day time period," and you keep a copy of that
Yeah,
so that you have proof that you
absolutely.
sent it,
Yeah.
and you can
Yeah.
proof of postage too.
So, but on an
It's
upside,
signed for.
Sorry, Bob. Sorry, don't butt in. But what happens if they don't? So what you're saying, they should, but what are you going to do
then you
if
can
they don't?
then you can put official complaints in.
Yes, you can, but then the official complaints, and you would know probably better than me, there's a standard committee that Breckland holds that is supposed to hold all Breckland councillors and all the parish councillors in Breckland to account. And there's a committee that you go and you have to face it, supposedly have, but people just, there's no power behind the standards. They can't do anything to you. So people who, well, Jenny was up 3 or 4 times in front of the standard committee. In the end, she didn't bother going, and they couldn't do anything to her. They can't remove her from office or
Has that
anything.
got a warning?
You get a warning, but it's like me warning you. It doesn't mean a thing, a blind thing, and it's wrong. The standards, if you're going to have rules and regulations and standards, they should have power behind them, but they don't.
Mark, they've got no teeth. It comes down to your self-embarrassment about your lack of good standing on the subject. You know, if you're having a bit of a beef with a member of the public, and you're doing it in all good faith, through conversation and dialogue, you and a member of the public, even though you don't agree, should be satisfied that you've had a good conversation. But what I feel the public are not getting at the minute is any conversation at all that gives them any satisfaction. And as he said, there's no teeth on the standards. And because it's a one-party council, they're not going to reboot themselves. Sorry, Bob.
Yeah, no. I was just going to go to an upside of that question. We know that they don't like answering questions. They know they turn their backs on us and they don't want to speak to us. But what's gone in our favour is perseverance. We've been there for months and months and months now. They declared a climate crisis, and all we've been asking them for months and months is, can you show us the evidence? And we had a breakthrough this week, or last week. I'd mentioned one particular councillor who does go away and do his research, and that seems to have triggered something in the other councillors' heads, because the mayor has now said that he's going to look into what we're saying, although I do think it will be just a tap on the Google and they'll get the desired answer. So I'm going to send him some information. I've also been tapped on the shoulder by another councillor who wants me to send him information to back our claim. Now, I've already sent him 9 testimonials from Sandy Adams regarding the Club of Rome and the Committee of 300. And I've got another 82 documents that I can send him to back my claim. So I've got to do it in drips.
Got a lot of work ahead of him.
Yeah. So but he has told me that he's really busy. He's got other commitments and so on. So he's just going to work his way through gradually. But it's not like we're in a hurry because there is no climate crisis.
No,
exactly.
So the world's not going to blow up before
No,
they've
no,
looked
that's
at
right.
them.
Not weather-wise.
But it just shows that we, you know, although they wouldn't necessarily respond to a 30-day notice, it's the persistence that's paying off.
If you do that, if you send them written, and I've been saying for weeks now that we should send them written questions before, a week or two before the council meeting, give them time to do the research and get back to it. Because
Very good.
if we don't get the answer, there's a lot of papers out there who will say, oh, well, look, there's proof there that they asked the question in a proper manner. And, you know, I made the front page of the papers just because I'm a threat to our local MP. But the point being is, I've got 2 more letters I'm sending to them, wanting answers to how I'm a threat and who said I'm a threat. Because they're all denying any of them said it to me.
Yeah.
So, you know,
It's a corrupt
Which
system.
bring-
It's a corrupt system. Like,
Which brings me to the notice thing again. We've been there before. Me, Jeff, there's some of the guys in Bury. We were approaching West Suffolk Council about exactly the same stuff.
yeah.
Right, basically all you got at the end of a session was a box standard Google answer, and that was enough to satisfy the rest of them. You know, there was a handful there that started to grow and started to do their own research, and we even got a tap on the shoulder from 2 or 3, didn't we? That said, we actually agree with you. So it started to develop. We reached the point where we got a private appointment with the CEO. I'm not going to say too much about the CEO at the moment.
Who's non-elected?
Unelected, because for anyone that doesn't know, councils are private businesses. And the leader of the council there, we ended up with a private meeting and we submitted a lot of evidence. That was a massive step forward. But later on, when that evidence was trying to be recovered by my personal counsellor, they binned the lot. Now, what really screwed things up in the end, through frustration again, was it reached the point where it all exploded in the chamber, and they put a block on us even coming in the building. So what we've got to try and avoid is that. We've got to try and avoid it escalating now. We've got to be in good honour and we've got to be in good standing. Because the door's open. The door's open. It's opened at just a crack, but it's
Still
open.
use that, yeah.
Be very careful. Very careful how you approach that.
And it's also, we've got to make sure the public sees that we are acting in a proper, correct manner.
Absolutely.
Because the councillors, I mean, not being horrible, having been one for quite a few years, aren't the important thing here. The important thing here is the public.
Absolutely.
It's the people. And that's what we need to do. Influence the people.
I was just going to say, because we have jumped into what I was going to say there, is the council still didn't give us any evidence, their evidence that they got the climate crisis. And the other thing I've got down
I
here,
have a question about climate change, quickly if you can.
Is it changing?
I want to know how a bus shelter,
no, we've got that in a minute.
15,000, is going to change climate change.
Yes.
Well, I think we're coming to that. I think that's quite a sore subject.
I'm sure it is.
But what we've got down here, they were asked about why they were pushing national and not local issues, which leads into that.
And international.
Yeah, and international. Now, I followed Jeff's question. I explained to them that when I was the town council and bringing up higher level issues, I was constantly told at the Thetford level that we shouldn't be bringing up national and international, and we've got to keep it local. So my question on the night is, why have you now gone national and international with your climate crisis? And the only power that you actually have And we all know it's because they're taking the whip and it's the top-down politics that's telling them what to do. I don't know if you can remember back to my question. I insisted that at the local level you have got it in the power to move that 30,000 back into a pension account.
Yeah, they went to fuel payments.
To which they ignored again.
Yeah. Well, then they denied, didn't they? They denied that they have the power to move it back. And then,
Has that already been
That
allocated?
is-
Has that already been allocated, that 15,000, or just verbally allocated?
well, think of it this way. Was you just going to speak on that?
Yeah.
Go on, speak on it.
No, I'm just going to say because what they brought out quite underhandedly, I felt, because it wasn't on the agenda. But in answer to some of the pressure we put on, that's when they said that they were spending £15,000 on a bus shelter. But they didn't actually go into it in the detail. I'm just getting rumours that there is 15,000. I don't know how far it's gone.
But that 15 grand, from the way I understood it, is coming out of that 30 grand.
Yeah,
Yes.
That they took
Yes.
out of the public pot in the first place.
yes.
The 30 grand that they said they couldn't reallocate.
Yes.
What they said to you, if they said to you, we cannot take that 30,000 and remove it from the climate change and put it into anything else, is pack of lies, because the council, if they have a majority on the council, they can do what they like with their money. They can move it around as they like. Terry Jeremy, when Labour got control of the council, the first thing the Labour Party did was take all of the reserves of the council and put it into one reserve. Because each committee, for all the 13 years I was there, each committee had its own reserves to use as they needed. Like the allotment committee, I was chair of the allotment committee 3 times, and the allotment committee had its own amount of money, and we could spend it. We spent it on fencing the allotments and bat control and all kinds of good things like that. But Terry Jeremy took all the reserves and put them into one pot.
Was it in his back pocket?
Well, I'm not saying that, no, I'm not saying that.
But just to
I'm in
explain,
enough trouble already with that.
just to explain that, I think a lot of us around the table here, we're pushing for decentralisation, localism, where people take control at the lower level with their assets and their money. I think we're all agreeing with that. Now, what Labour and Terry have done there is they've centralised all the money, and because it's a one-party council,
Under finance.
there's been no kickback on that. So basically, what they do now is they can control all that money in a centralised system, which I don't agree with at all. The great thing about the town council when we were on it, trying to explain to people who don't realise is, when you had your own separate committees with your own pot of money, people could come into the meetings and say, we need that, and you could allocate money out of your pot.
Yeah, out of your reserves.
Where now all the big money's being put in one pot with the one man who's now become an MP controlling it, it's going to be quite funny because he won't have the control now he's an MP, and it'll be interesting to see who steps up into his place.
Yeah.
And that's probably somebody that I think we've got to put pressure on at the meetings. Now,
He can stay as a town councillor and district and county councillor until there's an election. Like next year in May, there's county council elections. He then has to stand down from the county council.
So what you're, right, and we know him, so what you're saying to me there is that he's going to be, because he's not going to travel from London once a month for a town council meeting, but are you saying that he's going to keep his hands on the reins from afar through a third party?
I can't say what he's going to do, because he's his own individual person, but I suspect that that's exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah.
My opinion is, he's not going to relent anything until he's made to.
You think so?
And the other thing...
Really?
Yeah.
You think he's got time or any interest?
It doesn't matter what time or interest. If he has the power, he doesn't have to be physically here to do it. All he has to do is say, the deputy leader, this is what you're going to do. And do it.
Me. I thought that would have to be administered a little bit more definitive than someone down there going bang.
What's your name, here again? I forgot your name.
John Sheldrake.
John. I don't need to say John. Yeah, but what you've got to understand, John, we spoke about it before.
See, I'm not up to speed on you guys. This is only my second meeting.
I know, well, let me explain, John. I've explained before, and it's always good for the camera, the two major parties take the whip, which means they have to do what they're told from above.
Yeah.
Now, that means that our MP can still control, they can still control John from afar because of the whip system.
Good grief, I
And we're
understand
already
where
seeing
that-
it.
Yeah.
We're already
I
seeing
feel a
it.
bit of a local idiot not being aware of that, but I wasn't.
None of us knew it.
So many people don't know. When UKIP got on there, we were the first party to be on that thing
Without a whip.
without a whip. We refused. There's only 4 of us, but we refused to have a whip. We talked things out and we voted the way each individual wanted. We usually agreed, but occasionally we didn't. And so we voted the way we wanted. But they all have a whipping system.
But what's coming out, what's coming out of
Carry
it?
on, config.
What's coming out? I'll carry on, don't you worry.
I
Nothing stops me, John. What's coming out of the conversation though is that I want people to realise that, you know, it's thrown around, there's a lack of democracy, there's a lack of choice, there's a lack of dialogue at our town level because of the system that's imposed on them from above. And you can see straight away the way all the money's gone into one pot. It's all about centralised control. And that is what's going on in the town council, and that is why we get silence and people not answering us and mumbling and backs to us, and why we become frustrated. It is down to a lack of dialogue and a lack of democracy.
So, well, can I ask a question that may make me still look like a village, but is Thetford County Council financed from Breckland at all?
Is the town council? No.
Because I remember when Thetford disappeared into Breckland and I really had the hump.
Yeah, when we were a borough council, we had control of everything in Thetford, all the land, all the
Right, yes,
housing,
I remember.
everything. And then the
Fortunately.
government dictated to us that we had to abolish our borough council and become part of Breckland.
That's what I remember, yes.
They then took over control of the housing, control of planning, everything basically, except for cemeteries and
I wasn't
allotments and
aware
a
of
bit of that. Yeah.
Most of it I was.
John, just let me explain that again for the people who are listening. Basically, we're a big town. Thetford, you know, it took me a long time to get my head around this. Thetford is a big town, it was a borough. When you go to the likes of Brettingham and East Harlem, they're parish, and they're not very big, are they?
No.
Well, Thetford is a big old place. Now,
yeah.
what that meant, my comprehension of it is that when the town was a borough, democracy counted at the town level. The money that the town got in from the townsfolk, what we did at the town council meetings, it counted for Thetford. Because Thetford is a big place. Now, what happened was, in the early 70s, it was the Europeanisation of the country, and what they did was they introduced these middle councils, which are called the district councils.
Yes.
Now, it wouldn't affect somebody, I'm using East Harlem and Brettingham, the smaller parishes that we have around here, Croxton. It didn't really affect them because they didn't have any assets. What Thetford did is all our assets got pushed up to the Breckland middle level. Now, what I look back retrospectively with how the hell did the councils allow that to happen? The fight should have happened there to me. But then again, I personally think, allegedly, you put in a few brown envelopes in the whip system, and Thetford lost all its assets. So that is why everything at the minute is held at the Breckland level, and I'll go into that a bit more in a
Oh,
minute.
that's good enough. You've given me a
It's
bit of a
been
clue
fun.
now.
It's
I'm
been
gradually
fun.
getting there.
But at the minute, yeah, just to finish off there, the 15,000 which they mentioned,
just going for a week.
the 15, you can't go without telling us, you know.
Put your hands up.
I thought I'd be in room. I didn't want to be one of the councillors or anything like that.
So at the minute, does anybody know anything about the 15,000, how far it's progressed or anything like that?
That was a little bolt out of the blue, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a childish one as well, wasn't it? Oh, we're doing this.
Yeah.
You know, it's just.
Well, I
it's
did,
killed.
I did hear that putting solar panels up as well.
Oh, really?
I don't know where or when.
Right.
So
Another member of public actually came up with a bit of an idea that we could do. Is he said, why not do a survey in the town? Just passers by. Do you believe there's a climate crisis?
Yeah.
You know, just lay out a certain amount of questions. Well, pretty basic, so people just tick, tick, tick and be on their way. But what a thing to hand to the council. This is the opinion of the public.
Well, just on that one, because what happened in the last meeting, for those who weren't here, we were talking about what's called the parish poll. And the parish poll is where we can go to the people
With a
and
question.
do that. So Dennis quite nicely said that you get information on the parish poll, so I've got a copy here, so I'll have a quick look at it and pass it around.
It's on Breckland website if you need to do a copy yourself. I was running out of ink there, so someone might take it, but, yeah, it's all on the Breckland website. Just put parish polls in and it's there to do. And you can ask whatever question, and Breckland can't control it. It is something for the parish to organise and do. I think there is a cost to the parish, but, you know.
I'll pay that.
Yeah.
But what we've got at the minute is we've got the Thetford Town Council within its power declaring a climate crisis. We've got the national level taking the money away from the pensioners, and we've then got Thetford under pressure by us to do something for the pensioners, and they're using half of that money on one bus shelter. I can't get my head
And
on
how does that alleviate the so-called climate change?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is the most ridiculous way to spend your money.
Unless they're going to roof it with solar panels.
Yeah.
Well, I think the solar panels are going to go on the Carnegie Room. Because we had plans to put solar panels up on the Carnegie Room when I was still on the council. But the roof at the time wasn't strong enough, so they have to reinforce the roof to do the...
Well, if this is true that they are going to put a £15,000 one bus shelter in, further down the line we need to get in touch with LSB Film Productions, we need to get in touch with Martin who runs we need to get Martin who runs the Bubble Huddle, and then we then need to get as many pensioners as we can who've lost the winter allowance, and we need to pack them all into the bus shelter, and we need to get some pictures taken.
Yes.
I've been told they're going to put it on the Norwich Road there. There's two bus stops along the Norwich Road.
Are they electric buses?
No, they're not electric buses. But the pathways are so narrow there. If you put a bus stop there, you're not going to have any. You're going to have people having to walk in the road to get by.
Yeah, it's not
ridiculous.
it's not
Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
It's a bad place to stop a bus as well, actually.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think it's a shame the fact that they snuck it in, because obviously we were talking about the pensioners, weren't we, the 30 grand, and they happened to, once the questions were done, throw that in on one in their timetable and expect us not to say anything.
Oh, that was shut up.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so they can, you can't have that for the pensioners, but 15 grand bus shelter, they're going to make it out of gold, are they, or something, you know? It's ridiculous.
I'm going to the next council meeting. My question, one of them is going to be, how does a £15,000 bus station alleviate climate change? You know, you spend half your climate change money on something that doesn't have any bearing on. All it does is increase climate change if there is such, because all the materials you use to build it have to be produced. And that produces
And as we know, the climate changes every second.
I imagine they'd probably say, well, it helps because it keeps more cars off the road because they're using buses. That's the only thing that I could think that they would.
There's a Labour council has just said they're going to nationalise their buses, all their buses, just today. And I think that's what's going to happen with all bus companies.
But I'm sure the people of Thetford, if they were asked and said there's £30,000 available, have you got any ideas what to do with the surplus 30,000 around the town? I don't think any of them would have come up with an idea for a bus shelter.
Never. Not out of climate change.
So what it does point to is the naivety, stupidity of the councillors who are...
Well, somebody must have proposed it on the council and seconded it. Surely you just can't blow 15 grand.
Well, John, what it's going to, because the money's being moved out into separate pots and it's being centralised into one pot, with one big committee who all take the whip. They all have to do as they're told. So nobody's going to dissent against the 15,000 because they're all in the club.
Oh,
Little mini mafia.
I'm a little bit green now, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so what we've got to do, what I feel we've got to do, and we need the public's help, is to put pressure on at the next council meeting about that. However, that means that we're going to have to make noise. People aren't going to start calling us.
But you've got to make representations before the meeting. You just can't turn up cold and hit them with these things because they won't have an answer, will they?
Well, they don't have an answer when you write to them.
Yeah.
They don't want to answer.
Yeah, good point, yeah.
Like, the other thing is, I want to explain to you, I haven't been in the game of tennis for a bit. When Bob and Jeff started writing in, they were writing into West Suffolk Council. And basically you write a right elegant letter and they've got 3 or 4 weeks before the next council meeting to get their ducks in a row. And what they will do is they will see you off with good English and Oxford education, and they'll just give you a load of baloney, and then you're not allowed to come in. Really,
That's true.
exactly.
What's
So
new?
what I'm saying to you is, from a publicity point of view, sometimes putting in a written question allows them to take the wind out of your sails. Nautical term, where when the likes of us go in and gobble off at them, look into the whites of their eyes, we give them nowhere to go. Now, some of the public are going to call us out for that, but some of the public are going to say, my God, they're right, look at them councillors, they're useless.
The other thing is, with the West Suffolk Council thing, it actually reached the point where you had to submit what you was going to say or the questions you were going to ask, and if they don't like the tone of that, they won't even let you in.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which,
So,
Democracy.
where it reached.
when you start banning the public from public meetings,
Yeah.
you know, it's,
The X amount of months with the same question as well. So you was only allowed to ask that question and it was like a strict.
That's
amount of
true.
months.
Something like 6
Yeah,
months.
I mean,
6 months it had, yeah.
that's what
Yeah,
I mean,
you wasn't
put it down
allowed to repeat your question.
6 months.
Even if you didn't get an answer, just like that, but you know what I mean, you weren't allowed to repeat the
Yeah.
question.
See, the public have got to start waking up to the fact is that this is all top-down control. They're taking away your democracy, they're taking away your freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And people are going to have to fight for it at the bottom level.
Yeah.
You know, as we always say, we've got to do it in good standing, but we've got to be noisy and we've got to be loud.
I think the other thing is what we're saying that it's coming from the top down. It's strange that all the councils are following exactly the same format now
Yeah.
by branding us vexatious. One particular guy, what's his name, the ex-town clerk or standing?
Alan York.
Alan York. I think it's reached the point now where it's ego against our ego.
Yes.
And the other night he said to me, well, if you've got something against, if you don't like my reply, you don't like my reply, report me. Well, that's not a route I'd like to go down. I'd just like to do a man-to-man discussion
Every time.
about what's going on. But they are, across every council, they're calling people vexatious to stop any further conversation. And I looked into that. That comes from the 1700s. They brought that in.
It's like the new racist card, isn't it? To try and stop you dead.
So
Yeah.
Like, can I just say, so we're going through the way the meeting occurred in a bit of a chronological order. What I've got now is the fact that it's now obvious that 15 minutes is not enough time allocated for public questions because of the amount of people that are now turning up and attending the council. Now, I would say again, when me and you were in tennis, I've said this before, we were lucky if we got 5 members of the public most times, weren't we?
yes.
Now,
The only time we got a crowd at all was when there was a planning application or something like that that was, you know, a big thing, you know.
But what we've got now is we've now got regularly people in the 20s and the 30s turning up. So from a common sense point from me is that they should say, well, do you know what, we're going to have an extra 15 minutes on the questions. Which is what they do, but they're not doing that, and then that's leading to frustration, which we'll go on to in a minute. That's leading to the public being frustrated, and again leading to people shouting out. And
But they're not going to give you extra time because that's against, they don't want to answer questions anyway, so they're giving you extra time.
it's a good out, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an out. Legally they have to give 15 minutes, but the mayor can extend that time with either himself or vote from the council.
But anyway,
No, they don't answer the questions.
Trouble is, they're always going to get the same thing. That we're going to still be wanting to say something. You know, once the 15
well,
minutes
if you,
are up, so.
if you, right,
The other thing, Mark, is they've got away with not answering questions. They've cancelled 5 out of the 10 they're going to do this year.
say that again, they're gonna,
They cancelled 10 out of 10. They cancelled 5 out of the 10 they're going to hold this year.
yeah,
And they're getting away with that.
no, yeah, well, I'm just going into that, really, again, what happened after the 15 minutes was finished, and the public was still, who asked the last question, was it you?
I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and then people were backing you up on your question, and at that point he declared time was out, and because people were still trying to get points across, they conveniently stopped the council meeting.
And then once again, off it went.
Yeah, so basically the council meeting got stopped for those who weren't there, because you weren't there. And at that point there was the usual standoff, and I was expecting the police to come in, but the police didn't come in.
They were too busy talking to me.
Yeah, that leads me on to the security guards and the police at the council meetings. I've got down the guards from 48, again were very professional, but had nothing to do.
Well, there was 3 of them this time.
There was 3 of them. Was there?
Yeah,
three.
yeah, yeah.
Fourth official.
So what we need to do, if somebody can remember this, we need to find out if the £180 we paid for the 2, if the council are now paying more money for the
Well,
third.
it must be, so of course you have.
Well, yeah, because you pay per head.
Yeah.
What's the
I can tell you that. I've done
What's
security.
the contract for the security put out to tender?
We'll have to find out. We'll have to find out. I see where you're going, Dennis.
By law, they have to put it out.
So that should be on the,
A question.
should that be on a finance committee or an amenities committee? Because it happened pretty damn quick, didn't it?
See, what I want to know is though, why all,
That was a good question, that, Mike, but we need to find
why
out.
all of a sudden are we having to sign in on meetings as well? Because we never used to.
Right, you know,
You should always have to sign in
No, that shouldn't be, you should keep that.
for the reason of
yeah.
fire.
Fire safety.
It's a fire
Yeah,
safety.
how many people are missing? Yeah, where
Yeah.
are they?
So
Yes.
they can then check it off as you meet
Yeah.
at your, if there's a fire.
Right, but what you'll
That's why.
If people are missing, you don't check to go out, do you?
Well, that's a good point. You can argue that all night. What you shouldn't do, and you better before.
No, for those from a freedom point of view, it's like me, when they ask me to sign in, I don't sign in with my proper name. If they then go looking for me, the name that they'll call out, I'll answer to. I don't give my proper name.
Blue biro anyway. Didn't notice that.
No, but just be aware that is still my name. Hang on, man. That officially is a health and safety thing, and it's not really something that I would say we sign a dick.
No.
It's we got it. And I've got now the fact that they had nothing to do again. So the meeting got closed down, and they, later on they abandoned the meeting. So I've got down here, are security needed if there's no threat of violence from the public? And should we now ask the council to cancel 4 seats and take £180, potentially more at the third one?
They'll put it in for the pensions pot if they're going to pay
Yeah.
that out.
No, that's the point. That's the point. So I mean, we need to remind me of this after the meeting, because potentially we could put £180. Let's call it 200 for the third person. We could be putting that in monthly.
Downstairs.
Yeah.
We could be putting that in monthly into a pot that people need in Thetford. If they've got all this money to waste at
That's
the
a good
council level,
little
we could be doing better things with it.
Yeah.
Well, like Bob said, 270 at the minute, as far as it makes sense.
No, it sounds a
Is there
silly,
going to be more?
might sound a silly question, but we're talking about the security guards, all right?
Yeah.
Why don't we ask the councillors why they are there? We know, but we want them to tell us why they are there. We want to say to the mayor, why have you got security? And then he would turn around and say,
He'll answer that.
he'd have to answer that. He can't say, I've got to go, because they want that.
I think, to be fair, Martin, and probably put me right, I think we did that at the first meeting, didn't we?
Yeah.
And what was the answer?
Remember?
To protect them from the rowdy bunch.
Yeah.
Protect them.
Protect
But have they?
Yeah.
No, but the thing is,
You know,
you'll be lucky.
I was going to say, yes, we've been banging in a minute.
You're allowed to escape through the door, you know.
No, what,
Painted stuff.
yeah, what I would say to you, it's another good point to come back at the
Yeah.
you know, do you, well, that's what I'm saying, I've got to here, do you still think you need them? Because
Yeah.
the point is, the police have been called, the police never got called this time. Do you think you need them? Because we're paying money for somebody that's not needed.
Yeah, we should ask them. I'm sure they would have to answer that.
I would say that some of the, and we brought this up at another meeting, some of the faces that council are land pulls,
Yeah.
some members of the public, we might need the security for him.
Exactly.
He's, mind you, I have noticed since Jeremy's gone, he's been very quiet. I wonder what, I can't work that one out.
He's probably got a new phone.
Well, I think it was,
Hasn't got his back.
Exactly.
Should it be down to security to call the police? What are they there for?
well, this is what we're saying. Well, the security would only call the police if they felt they were threatened.
Yeah, exactly.
If they can
So that's a bit of an oxymoron there, isn't it?
But that's what they're doing, and they make it out they're threatened.
Now, what I would say to you is, no, if the security felt that they were threatened, that would put us in a position where they could use their strength against us, because we're now straying into that territory.
You see,
Which we
security
never do.
guys don't just turn up, they're all trained. And they are pretty well trained, and they should analyse the situation if it's getting out of hand. I couldn't believe it when I saw three heavies standing at the door in there.
Well,
I
nothing
just
ever gets
couldn't
out of
believe
hand.
it.
Well, nothing ever gets out of hand. No, the point is, what I've got to say here is, I've got down, for once, compared to last time, the police weren't called. Michael, the police weren't called, but you said that there was lots of police outside.
There was a lot of police about that night, yeah. When I come up past the car park, you know, the small one, not the old Argos car park, the other one. The motor pulled up there, 3 police officers got out of there. I see a van go past while I was waiting outside, they wouldn't let us in till, well, the time. And I see a couple walking up and down the town.
Good grief.
I don't know.
Sniffing about the
one on his
No, I'm sure we got to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, it seems like.
All right, we've got to keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We've got to keep an eye on that, and so we've got to ask questions of the police somewhere along the line, Dennis. What do you think? Get in touch with the Police and Crime Commissioner, ask him what's going on.
Yeah, ask him what's going on.
No, what, I know there has been a bit of trouble in the town. Some of the youths pestering some people. And something got over on the top of one of the banks, Lloyd's Bank.
Lady there, you asked a question last week about safety.
Safety.
And what did the committee say to you?
Couldn't really,
They didn't answer it.
they said something, but I didn't really, there was a lot of
You
noise.
can't understand
You
it.
can't hear what they were saying.
You couldn't.
You couldn't really hear what they were
No,
saying.
but the problem,
It's terrible.
the problem you had, Santa, as well, because I heard when I heard what you were asking, I thought that's a very important question. But because the 15 minutes run out of time,
Yeah.
you had to force your questioning in as part of the agenda. Which again, if they made the 15 minutes longer, we could get some important
Something,
questions in.
yeah, I was thinking later because someone told me as well.
Yeah, again, it's coming back to the fact is that, you know, the obfuscation and the 15 minutes being cut off virtually religiously, you know, again, it comes back to they don't want your questions. Or they don't want our questions, do they?
Then, but another one of the council came to me later as everybody was leaving. Then I said, did you all cancel this because of me? He said, no, because of the other thing that was getting a bit out of hand, that's why we cancelled.
Yeah, that would have been us.
Yeah, that's what he said. So I thought it was because I asked.
Which I'm sure the EDP will probably write up.
But what I like to think is that the little bit of nice noise you made with your question contributed to the overall ambience of the meeting being abandoned.
Go well for that.
No, the reason I Mark,
What would escape that was.
No, Mark, the reason I asked that question is something did happen. A few things happened and I got the feedback from the butchers.
Yeah.
Something did happen. About 20 to 30 people were in town in the evening and there was something going on. And then a few days later there was something else. So then Dee told me, don't come out in the evenings because there's something is going on in the evenings. Yeah. But 20 to 30 it seems.
I don't know if this makes me feel.
Hang on, Mike.
I don't know if this makes me feel older or nicely protected. But today I got a taxi down here, and the taxi driver waited. I had to go down to the bank machine, get some money out, and come back. And that taxi waited until I'd taken my money out and got back up here before he drove off and left. Now I think that's you're happy with that. That was a really nice gesture on his part. But
Because you hadn't paid though.
no, I
You've got to pay before you get out there. It's an old thing.
So I think evening is quite.
my days of running are over.
Well, can we just ask, can you give a shout out to the taxi firm?
Yeah, it's Perry's taxi.
Perry's
Perry's taxi.
Yeah,
It wasn't Steve himself,
No,
but
that's-
yeah, but it was his driver.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I shall thank Perry's when I see him.
yeah.
Well, just to do a wash up then of what we've been going over there, I've got the ongoing conduct of the main Thetford Council. They do not like, or they don't want to engage with the public,
No.
and that's the reason why they don't reinforce the acoustics. I've got that. Now, the main agenda items were what the public had questions about, and as they were now unable to ask questions in the 15 minutes, this led to the public shouting out and becoming loud and agitated during the main bulk of the council meeting when they were going through their agenda. So again, that's when it all kicked off, and this was what we got here. This was intense during the agenda item. It got to a crescendo on the parking charge bit of the.
Yeah.
And people, again, because they couldn't ask questions in the 15 minutes, the minute they started debating about the parking charges, people then started shouting out and asking the questions to the council, which they didn't like.
But what was the big bonus from that?
I've got that. Now, Labour, when they did speak about the parking charges, I'll go through I've got 4 points on this and then we'll get everybody in. I've got Labour are against the parking charges and they're very mad at Brecklin Council for imposing the charges on them. Now, it was pointed out to Labour, when it shouldn't have been, it was pointed out to them that this is exactly the same as what they're doing to Thetford by forcing the climate crisis on the people. So Brecklin are forcing parking charges on them, and they're forcing the climate. So it's exactly the same. What were they moaning about when that came out? And at that point, the council then abandoned the meeting due to the discourse from the public who were getting upset. And that's when the meeting then was officially abandoned.
Yeah, okay, on parking charges. As I said, today I got my Brecklin magazine that Brecklin puts out 3 or 4 times a year. In it is a section on the parking charges. That we're in an official consultation period at this moment. Brecklin has got to, by law, make an official ask us our opinions. In that article is the website for you to make your opinions state, and I wish everybody I can to go to that website. If you can't find it, it's on Brecklin's website. So go and make an opinion. Give your honest opinion of why. If they put car park charges into Thetford, they will kill what's left of our high street.
Yeah.
You know, people won't come to Thetford if they know they're going to have to pay for parking in Bury. Why not just pay for parking in Bury, and where there's more shops and everything? It'll kill our thing, and we need to stand up against that.
Well, the thing that come out of that, and Bob will go into it now, is the thing that come out of it, when they were debating it and you were against it, we had something in unison. The Thetford Council Watch and the Labour Party Town Council were agreed
on something.
And Bob tried to bring something up.
That's true. I mean, for me, that's a perfect agenda for both us and them to join forces. I actually said to the mayor afterwards. The mayor came. I wanted to speak to him. He came over, and we had a chat, and I suggested to him a strict no payment policy, and he said that's illegal. Right. So, but that's where we come in to them with our knowledge of the difference between lawful and legal, and how to stand against what Breckland are trying to impose. It shows the mindset that they're in, is that they purely are legislation followers and rule followers.
Exactly.
And regardless of whether they agree with it or not, they will go down the route of just following the order. But if we can join forces, we can show them the way to avoid it.
Now, some lunatic, if anybody listens, during that part of the agenda item, where the public were trying to get in question, some lunatic was berating them from the back with the question of, does the car parks belong to the people of Thetford,
I know that, yeah.
or do the car parks belong to the corporation company that is Breckland Council? Now, that was me, and I did shout that out about 5 times, because I think that's the most, that is the main question. Now, from a good standing point of view, my point is, now don't forget, we lost all this land, which is what we were talking about before. We lost our assets under the implementation of the Breckland Council, and all our assets got pushed up. So we've now got this corporation who have got Thetford town assets, and they're now going to start to charge the people of Thetford for our own assets. Now, I'm now talking about, and I would invoke lawful rebellion on this. There are assets. We've got no contract with Breckland Council on this. I would personally think, and I'll put it to you lot, but I think further down the road, I would be thinking that the Thetford Council Watch should be advising the people not to pay.
This goes back to the Bill of Rights.
Yes.
Ah, very good.
But on some of the people,
Very difficult as well.
but the people, and again, this is an education thing. The people have got to comprehend the land, air, and water, the different jurisdictions of law. What is corporation admiralty law of the sea? Where you fit in? Have you got a contract? Is it signed? What you have to pay? And we have to advise them and take the fear out of it. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. It's an educational thing now.
Yeah.
But if the people of Thetford start bringing the cars in and not paying, I mean, we've got a man round the table who advised them all to just ignore the tickets anyway. He's got more than any of us. but you just don't pay. I mean, they can't do anything. You haven't got a contract.
Very difficult one. I agree with you, the very difficult one. I've been
But
there
it's-
with that one.
But it's having the knowledge and how to deal with it. It's about whether you create joinder or not. And is there a contract? You've got to remember that absolutely
See,
everything
we
they
know
run,
so little, really.
but everything they run under is commerce.
Of
But remember, we
it
don't
is.
live in the UK. We live under the UK Limited. It's a corporation, so everything is
Has
commerce.
been beyond.
And unless you've contracted, it doesn't apply to you.
It's all been created
It's
through
only when you
fear.
start researching it and it starts to involve you.
Yeah,
I mean, there's 20 people in here and there's 26,000 in Thetford.
yeah.
Do I say any more?
It's all been created through fear, though, hasn't it? You know,
Yeah.
I think where
But
people
they-
are too scared to.
But that is a very good point that you made there, is that the people that are doing this are only doing it through the consensus of the ones that don't know. Aren't they?
Yep. Yes.
That's the only reason they have their power, is keeping the plebs ignorant.
You see, I never knew, no disrespect, but I never knew this existed. My son, Brandon, looking at the speed. And you look at a much older man than anybody in here, and I won't bore you, I was heavily involved in Thetford years ago. Heavily involved, I could write a book on it, but you're doing it now, so I sit and listen and agree. No more than that.
Yeah.
But if it goes the way, Dennis, if it goes the way it usually does, we and Dennis have sat under consultations before, and the consultation will be Breckland will implement it.
Yeah.
They have been put into it, yes.
No, they will
Implement, they want the money, so yeah.
Yeah.
They,
Protected revenue?
mind you,
Question mark.
we did fight them last time, and we beat them last time, but we had 7,000 names on the petition from all the towns of Brackland, and we presented it to the Conservative-run Brackland Council, and we won.
But I think,
Yeah.
But we have lost things before
no,
that we should have had.
I think because the council actually agreed with us on this, I think the council will do the heavy lifting
Yeah, they probably.
on petitioning the locals. I think we can rely on Labour to do that. Now, what I anticipate is...
As long as they have their Labour Party at the top of the petitions.
But
if
what
they
will-
will do.
Think that one in well, didn't you?
My point is that the people will in effect vote against it. Now, two things will happen and it'll either go away, which I don't think it will. I think that Breckland will then still implement it against the people.
Yeah.
Right, okay, alright,
Won't be the first time.
alright, so we gotta have a plan. Now, at that point, I would say that is when we then have to educate the people on how not to pay.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
What about the town clerk?
I'm just going on to that for the whole thing. So we all agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
The last thing I've got there, that there was no common sense shown on the night again at the end, which is why it was closed down. And there was no common sense shown, especially from the town clerk, who I expected more of, who actually did
That,
have a notification with yourself.
We tried coming into some kind of contract or whatever, but like we can't understand them anyway, so
And Mark,
that was the end of that.
you and Emma stepped in there, didn't you?
Oh,
Yeah, do you mind me speaking, Zach?
no, far away, mate.
The gentleman who rang the police the first time, I don't know his name,
Alan York.
Alan York.
Yeah.
He came up to Zach the first time and gave Zach, let's say, a yellow card. Alright? Zach didn't accept that. Like we said, we're not going to accept that. So off he went. Zach had an altercation again, and he was going to get a red card. But Alan didn't have anything, he didn't have the bottle to come up to Zach and give him that card. So he gave to the clerk, which is the lady. He handed it over to her, because if it had been a normal man, he would have come up to Zach and said, Zach, this is the second time, but he didn't. So he came over to the lady. When I said to the lady, he didn't accept the first one, she turned round twice and told me to back off. Her words. So that is the most aggression in those two meetings I've been to from the committee. Nothing to do with us.
So basically she was giving you an order rather than request.
She told me twice with hands to back off.
Because it surprised me. I didn't know who she was. I saw her.
So
She ends up to you.
I think that she needs to be spoken about that.
Yeah, you got to go
Because if that was me, Bob, Mark,
Yeah,
or anyone else,
Yeah, then the police would have been called. And,
yes.
Yeah.
So that's got to be stepped
That
in.
would have been
That's
assault
got
on
to
a
be yeah.
councillor and.
Without a shadow of a
Yeah.
doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, let's capture this. If she did have a problem with Zach, she's quite within her rights to go to Zach and say, excuse me, can I have a word?
No.
Now that's a request and there's nothing wrong with that, and then they can have dialogue. But the fact that she went across and started telling you to back off and was barking orders,
Yeah.
I feel puts it on the...
But it wasn't her job to do that, it was Alan's job. Because Alan had the card, didn't
He
he?
come over first of all, yeah.
He came over, but the second time he didn't come over, so he handed it to a lady. So I didn't say nothing, but my daughter stepped in.
Yeah, Emma's got her hands up now.
Yeah.
But who's the security there for?
yes, exactly.
Good point, Emma.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one.
Did we have security there for us, or did they have their own security?
I want to point that, this is very important for me.
Yeah, so
So
the only...
that gentleman at the beginning, he had a letter to give to the councillors, and he said, quite politely as well, he put his point across, and he said, can I give this to you? And they said no, and he had to hand it to security to give over. Because they don't want us to go near them because they've got security against us.
Yeah.
That letter should have been handed to security, a mutual party, to be then handed to Zach. Maybe Zach wouldn't have still accepted that. We don't know. Zach's his own person. He can do it.
It's got to work both ways.
But
Yeah,
it has
right,
to
what she's
work
saying.
both ways.
Yeah, it's a good
Because
point.
then that's a
Yeah.
mutual party, because Zach then wouldn't have had, all these comments that we're having on social media about, how the mob is acting. People can act out of different emotions, and not being answered to can then spiral into something else. If Zach would have been handed that by a mutual party, Zach's reaction, I'm only speaking, would have been different.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
It
it.
would have been different. They're doing that as a target because they know deep down if they're going to give that to Zach or going to give that after he's upset and he's already,
Where do
why
all
would
these...
they
all I
approach like
just
that?
want to say,
Yeah.
you're right, Emma, in saying that, because the barrier's there. They've ideally, I think they put them there supposedly to protect themselves from us. And she went past
She
the
can't,
barriers
yeah.
and put herself in a situation that's aggressive to you, Martin,
Yes.
to then put us, or could have put us in a bad light had it been.
Yeah.
Or,
And
you know
that's
what
why
I
I
mean?
stepped
Yeah.
in as a woman.
I'm wondering whether they want us.
Yeah.
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 It was
That's
bait,
right.
yeah.
They're baiting us.
Yeah.
And if they were not saying
Yeah,
I
I've
was going
never
to say
heard-
that to you, back off and give it all back.
I've never heard of anything so stupid as to have red and yellow cards for council meetings and to have barriers up. In 900 years of being a council, we've had a mayor for over 900 years
Yes.
now. We've had council. I've never heard of barriers ever being put up.
Yeah.
I don't think any of you have been threatening as such. You're vocal, but I don't.
Bob and Mark don't stand behind the barriers. So you don't stand behind the barriers, nor does Mark. He did this time, but before he didn't. And that tells us that we can do that. Because if we don't learn from these people, what they say we believe is right.
Exactly.
Those buildings are owned by the
Yeah.
people of Thetford. They're
But
not
we-
owned by the council
No,
as
but
such.
a normal person like me would not know that. So
I think
if
also-
I'm told something by them, I would. But you say to me, it's a public meeting. You stand where you want.
I think the barriers are also there to give. I think the council want to give the general public the perception of what we are.
You're dangerous.
We're being
Yeah.
offensive. You walk in, there's 3 security guards. You then walk in and then you see a barrier. You then walk in and then see the chairs pushed all the way back against the wall. So it gives you that perspective of this must be so unruly because they've got all this in place before you even get to sit down. And that's the 16 comments that then get put on by the 16 people that don't come and watch it for themselves. Come and see it. You don't have to agree with everything that gets, but come and see. Don't just put a comment on.
But we've got to be careful that we don't step into the bully boy.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We mustn't.
Yeah.
No,
You know, we must. We don't want to be doormats.
No, but we've got to rein it in. And
We've got to
right
rein
sides
it in,
here,
and we've
definitely.
got to be professional, polite as much as possible.
Yeah.
Right, but we mustn't end up being bullies because then we lose everything.
Credibility.
We do. That's right.
At the end of the day, it's
You
the
would
public
lose,
you want
that's
on side, not the council. It's the public you want on
that's
side.
it.
Exactly.
That's it.
It's a public.
And then they will stop. Then they don't speak
Well,
to
the
us now.
council aren't interested in us, Martin,
We're not falling
anyway.
into the trap, are we? So
We don't want to fall into.
No.
Okay, but let's give that a term then. We've got a term for that. We've got to be in good standing.
Will that be mentioned at the next meeting?
Yeah,
The
well,
clerk?
Yeah, the clerk, yeah.
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 Definitely.
what concerns me, and I brought that up, it's fitting in nice, those barriers are not usually where they are. They're being pushed right up.
Yeah, they're pushing you in.
And they're being lengthened.
Are they legal even?
Well, we'll find out. But getting back to professionalism, if you see from here tonight, I get here, Jeff gets here, Alan gets here. We have to sort the room out, where we're going to sit, where people are going to go, where's Roy going to go with his camera, where's Chris going to be. We have to work out who's going where and who's doing what. What concerned me at the council meeting tonight is because they pushed those barriers back, we didn't have the usual place where somebody stands with the mic in the middle, and I usually stand off to the flank, don't I? But we didn't even have that allocated place for somebody to talk. And when Ned got up to ask his first question, there was nowhere for him to stand. He didn't know where to go. That's why I grabbed him and put him on the right hand side, so Roy could pick up with his mic what he was saying. But what concerned me was the fact that we're dictating where members of the public stand and speak, rather than the council, which I found strange.
On the subject of Nick, you messaged me today. He's picking up his paintings on the 5th of November.
Tomorrow.
From who? Who's furnishing the paintings? Do you know actually who's
The library.
covered them all?
Yeah.
The library.
That's lovely. That's good.
Yeah, he's donated paintings over the years, and because he's so disgusted with the council, he's asking for them back, which it looks like he's got a result anyway. That's good.
Good.
But again, we're going over that our agenda item. We have got people talking about us in town. However, we're going to have to take the hit on that, I feel. We've got to be loud. We've got to be slightly verbal, but we've got to be in good standing as best we can.
I'll put my hands up.
No.
Yeah, and I think the thing is to stay on subject as well. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, Ned was addressing his thing, and all of a sudden was you talking about some bloke called Hassie. And I'm thinking, what's that got to do with Ned?
Exactly, and you bang on right there. But if they're going to start lying, I need to pull them up what else he's just done recently.
And then save it.
Yeah,
save it. Go to the front.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there shouldn't. I personally don't think there should be any shouting out. The only person who should really be allowed to shout out is the person asking the question who's not having their answers met.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be up to somebody else to shout out on their behalf.
Or you could even say, look guys, I need some help here. Jeff, can you come and... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Well, that's why it worked so well when we did the 20-minute neighbourhood, because we basically kind of nominated one person to speak on behalf of everyone, and that was Mike Bull.
Yeah.
And so it flowed, because there wasn't all this.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's
still
what you
doing the
need.
rounds, by the way.
I know, yeah.
It won't go away.
Yeah, that's all over TikTok again now.
Yeah, no mention of the original uploader though.
Don't worry, it's not all about you.
I know.
It's all about
Why not?
Well, I just going on to the next agenda item, and coverage of the council meetings in the local media. I don't think we haven't made the EDP.
Not this time.
No, because we
quietened down a little bit then, didn't we?
Yeah.
Waited for the parking bomb.
No, I think what was good about the other night is it was a lot of members of the general public rather than the council watch who were being quite vocal.
Yeah.
During the meeting.
Absolutely, it was.
It's very good, that.
Yeah. But I still think we've got to put pressure on them and wait, because I think people are going to wake up eventually. I mean, how long can people keep their heads buried in the sand? I mean, they're losing money, the prices are going up, they're going to be getting charged for the park, and sooner or later people are going to start asking for information, and it's going to be potentially us giving the information, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we just got to hold the line. Is there any other points from the public before we wrap up?
You normally put your messages on the Thetford Forum, the T, capital T and F, right? Run by the Labour Friends.
Yeah, I can't get on there anymore.
Yeah. Why did you put on the other one?
I
It's
do.
run by the Hub.
I do put it on there.
The small T.
Not all the time. Yeah, small T.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I put it on.
I mean, if you look at their Facebook page, it's got about 15,000.
Yeah, and I put stuff on Thetford Community Forum as well.
Yeah.
You're allowed on there.
And the Thetford group.
Yeah, he's one of us.
And what about better for Thetford or something? There's another one.
I don't know that.
There's another one I saw. The lady who does the charity for the ex-servicemen club. She puts on that.
Do us a favour, Shanti, can you just show Bob that at the end of the meeting? Just do it.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
get on.
I'll get on.
And another thing regarding the flag that was on that list on the day of the meeting.
The flag that was on?
The new policy for the flag was on the meeting list, isn't it?
But we didn't get to that, did
We didn't get to that, but I heard about it because one of my reform friends went to the British Legion for a drink, and he was talking to one gentleman who is the husband of the deputy mayor, the Portuguese lady.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he
Carlos.
told him that they are adding in the LGBT flag.
Right.
They've done that for Poppy as well.
Yeah,
Wait,
That's-
the
the pride flag.
wait, just to put my ex-military head on, we have what's it called? Heraldry. So we actually have official heraldry.
Yeah.
And you officially cannot just put up a flag on the council. As far as I'm aware, you have to ask for planning permission because of the heraldry. So whatever we do, we'll investigate that. And I'll
No,
come
because
back.
that is what he told my friend, because he was checking with him.
Yeah.
So he identified himself as the husband
Yeah.
of the deputy, and she's Portuguese, yeah?
Yeah, I know what it's all about, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is there is actual
And-
rules and etiquette to this, which you can't just put any old flag that they want
But
up.
he mentioned about the pride flag. That was the new policy, I think, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I will look into that.
It was something like
So that was good for
Suffolk,
them to
wasn't it?
cancel the
Very much.
meeting.
They've
to go
taken
ahead
it
and
down
talk.
now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they've still got the Ukrainian flag up.
You're supposed to have planning permission for that.
Yeah.
Zach?
Yeah,
It makes you go, it's, you know,
Yeah, totally.
That flag won't be there
how
for long.
uneducated
Yeah.
they're flying the flag
Take a long
of the Azov
seat,
battalion.
Just,
right.
we've
You
got
climb.
we've got another question from the public here.
No, I'm agreeing with what you said. You do have to have planning permission to fly the flag.
Yeah.
You don't have to have planning permission to put the flagpole up though. Excuse me?
No, yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have a flag. Yeah, if you're civic, you can have a flagpole.
It's etiquette, isn't
But
it?
it's the etiquette. It's called heraldry. What goes
It's like
on?
me being a sailor boy. We've got etiquette the way we fly our flags.
Peculiar,
Yeah.
and they got rid of that boat.
And that comes down. That does come under
I
that
wanted to
civil
buy
law.
that. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Hang on, sir.
Subject,
Hang on, lad. Is there any other questions? Oh, Jane, you okay? Any questions? John?
No, I'm fine, I'm just getting in, I'm just bedding
Dave, any
in.
observations from yourself before we wrap up, Dave?
I've got several observations.
Yeah.
I have got one question, just
Yeah.
out of interest. As a council watch, are you, we, because I include myself, aiming at the major issues like the £30,000? Only there's a small thing that happened this week with Thetford Town Council that I'm just not happy about, which affected everybody indirectly. And I just wondered if we should be pulling them up for anything we feel is wrong, regardless of the level of importance. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that is.
Here's the list.
Well, that's it. If you feed
No,
it
no,
into
no.
us, if you feed it
Did we
into
all get this?
I did.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
I didn't get one.
Okay,
Did
this
they,
is Thetford Town Council's newsletter, Our Town. Came through the letterbox this week. This is a what's on in Thetford.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with Thetford Town Council, and I think we should maybe be pulling them up on that.
Yeah.
I just think that, by all means, release a what's on, but I've been through every word of every page of this, and there is nothing about Thetford Town Council as a council in this.
Jay, can you pass that up to me? Because there
Yeah.
is something in that.
Very
I meant to
good
bring
point,
up.
that.
Pass that up there. Oh, thanks. No, the thing is, because we do have the magazine that comes out with and we have the bubbly hope. So
And my supplementary question or observation to that is, there's nothing on that pamphlet anywhere that says who printed it.
That's a good point.
I've searched every line and I can't find. The reason I've done that obviously is because it's probably being printed by the same people who have done it about Thetford.
Yeah.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that Mr Jeremy has a finger in there somewhere.
What, and about Thetford?
That's it.
He
No,
owns
the
it.
principal.
He's not quite.
No, he owns it.
Well, there you go.
Well, the editing,
surely
he's the
that
first
magazine-
word you'd see when you open it, isn't it?
So surely that magazine as a separate thing to About Thetford should have the printer on it, shouldn't it?
Yeah, we'll have a look into that.
I know it's only a minor thing compared to the other things we discussed.
No, there is.
After everything we spoke about tonight,
Yeah.
there was a bit on here, I'll just read it, you know, because of lack of common sense shown by the new town clerk, who's called Sonia Rice, and she said, I am honoured to be appointed into the position of the town clerk to Thetford. Having worked in Thetford previously, I know the area and the town very well. I'm excited to be able to support the council in delivering services for the local community. My primary focus will be transparency, efficiency and inclusivity. I believe that a strong council listens to its community, encourages participation and fosters a sense of unity whilst working towards making Thetford an even better place. So she agrees with us about community and she wants to have a strong council. She's going to listen and she wants us to have, participate. So
Sounds good.
I'll
The
drink to
name,
that.
Sonia Wright, the new town.
Is it worth making the point then, Mark? That
Definitely.
That's a very valuable piece of it, which you're
Yeah.
quite right about.
Definitely.
Which we should probably read just as you
That's
did
a
then,
great
the
idea.
next public questions.
Because what she put there is going directly against what's going on.
It needs reading publicly.
Yeah, can somebody read that article out
Yes. I will, if you like, I'll come
next week?
Yeah.
Next month? Somebody
Well,
read that out.
Actually, some of what you've just said there, I think is quite good because there may be some people that, like myself, may not be able to get up and say the things we want to say correctly. So what I was saying is, why don't we get questions and hand them over to people like the Daves,
Yeah.
right, who can put it over so much better than just someone like
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
And then instead of them coming out and going, oh, he's just a thug, I'm putting at you, Jeff.
No, no.
Alright? instead of them just coming out there, they might think, educate your people.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We need to step
More
up.
often.
Yeah, we need to step up the level.
I've only got
Instead of
6 on
being
level.
that, we need to step up that level. And people like Dave, he knows his business. He
What
knows.
he's trying to say is that you can be a gobby git.
It doesn't matter, but he can get it over much better. So I think we should get some questions out instead of maybe just standing up and doing this. Hand them over to Jeffs, the Marks, the Daves.
Yeah,
the
but don't
Dwarfs.
forget, we're only allowed to ask one question.
Well, yeah, but
Ah, that's the point.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, you've got one and Jeff's got one.
I might have a question I want to give to you, and you can hand it over. You can deliver it better than I will.
Well, yeah, but we've got plenty of people who do that, yeah, because, you know.
So only 15 minutes is the whole meeting.
Not
Yeah.
The whole meeting.
That needs fighting on, don't it? That needs fighting, discussing.
15 minutes.
That's including answers.
Yeah.
The great, Mark, the great thing now, because it's not just us, these council watches are taking off all over the country now. Colchester's-
Can we just give a shout out to Liverpool Council Watch?
Yes.
Because they've just
They're on
commented
there,
on there as well. So yeah, shout out to Liverpool Council Watch. We've got a fellow Scouser here. Look. Hey, calm down.
Hey, down.
So there you go. Check them out on YouTube. Great stuff.
He's a bloke.
Now we know what I have to put up with down here. No, but what I'm saying is that the council watches are taking off all over the country, and it's
Rightly so.
what we're all doing is we're exposing the lack of transparency. You know, goes directly against what the town clerk said. The lack of transparency, the lack of communication, the closing down of dialogue, the hiding from questions. We haven't been in this position before. It's only the last couple of years that this has kicked off. And
Where did it kick off?
Oh, 20-minute
Kicked
neighbourhoods.
off here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep it.
The council pushback started here.
Yeah, that's right.
And
It does actually say on the internet, I was reading it the other day, that this all started in Bedford. I can't remember where I read it.
2022 nuggets, wasn't it?
But just to add, I think that'll be.
20,
Well, we had some
We said,
great
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
of course we
yeah,
do.
Listen, just a minute.
Just to add, I think that'll be a good first question.
Yeah.
Well,
To set the ball rolling.
just as an example, if you
Yeah,
don't mind,
No,
my thing would be, if you asked me to do it, and I'm quite happy for someone else to do it,
and read it
would
directly
be
out.
to get up and say, my question is directly
Yeah.
to the town.
yeah,
clerk.
that's fine.
Well,
I should read you a
Yeah.
quote.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
have your opinion.
Yeah.
Ideal. That'd be fine. That sets tone for the meeting, you know what I mean? That'd be interesting to see
She
what
might
she
walk
says.
out though, Dave.
Yeah.
And the question, why there's no... Sorry.
Give him a yellow card, yeah.
Sorry, you,
Mind you, of course, keep in mind that they probably watch this and they are
Yeah.
now forewarned.
No, I'm sure problem. Yeah, it's all right.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, Terry's watching it.
So, yeah, that's
That's why I
why
got in trouble last time, because I came to the meeting the day.
that's why I left the
before.
council.
Did they reimburse you?
No, they did, reimbursed.
Well, let's keep it civil for the minute. And, yeah,
Sorry, Mark, there isn't a list, but there is something else that I just, it's a question to the three gentlemen, sorry,
That's fine, we're not the council.
who
Carry
were
on, members of the
councillors.
public.
No, I believe
Yeah,
in doing
councillors,
things properly. When you become a councillor, a greenhorn councillor, are you given any training as to etiquette, how to deal with the public? Because I can't help, and admittedly it's the first council meeting I've been to since it was this sitting. And my observation sitting there last Monday night was that they're sitting there like following sheep.
Yeah.
But the sheep,
Yeah.
but also I've just got the feeling that they didn't really know how to deal with the situation because they've never been given the opportunity to be told.
I had a day's training.
The training you're given
It's like a magistrate.
is, you're given in council training, where the council trains you themselves and shows you the basic details of what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to go. But you can be offered further training, you know, through a professional organisation called the Clark's NELP.
I just asked the question, Dennis, because the comments about speaking with their backs to us, not standing up. To me,
but that's just pure.
as Mark said, that's etiquette.
Yeah, but that's just pure them being
You know,
Facetious.
being ignorant.
If
Let's
we
be
stand up and ask
Vexatious.
them a question in 15 minutes, I've just said it. We stand up and we face them.
Yeah.
Because it's polite, not because we want to. I mean, you might be a Martin and really be frightened to do it.
no, I'm not frightened.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do know what you're
You
saying.
just want to make sure it comes across in the correct manner.
I think he's having a pop at you.
Do you know what? In 2 hours, the last 5 minutes are all about Dave. All about Dave.
We're on camera. We're on camera.
He's been asleep. All you've been talking about, he's been a kid.
We're on camera.
Right, carry on.
Carry on regardless.
No, it's yeah. We'll bring all these points up at the next council meeting. We've already off hot to trot with Dave coming up with his initial question. That'll set the scene.
Yeah.
And we've got all these points tonight. And any of the public that have got any questions for us who they don't want to ask themselves, just bring them to us and we'll get them to somebody who can actually articulate it in a nice way.
Is that the end of the meeting?
Well, I was going to say, should we give Terry away?
No.
I just want to point out to everyone, everyone doing now is going on 3 platforms.
Yeah. Yeah, Rumble.
Bluetooth, Rumble, Bluetooth.
They're going to build a new one.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much. We're going to finish the meeting there. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I was going to send you off with a great big
That's very good.
Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed that. Look after yourselves. Got a good video in the morning at about 10 o'clock. well worth watching. Look after yourselves. Take care. Love you lots. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.
That's been really good. That's been